Hello and welcome to Sandustry. As you might have seen, that is my factory in the thumbnail right there on the store page. That is the factory I built during the playtest earlier this year. And now, Early Access is finally here and I'm going to be playing this game that I have been waiting for. We're going to have to solve on a new world. I'm just going to keep all of this default. And I'll be going through these early couple of phases a little bit quicker than most people in all likelihood. So if you want to follow along, feel free. And if you don't really care or it's too much, then let me know and I'll try to explain something to you in the comments. Without further ado, let's go into the new world. Mission brief, Planet PX-47, assignment, establish a link. This is Archon Pride, Sentinel Command. Welcome, Prospector. I am Archon Pride, Orbital Overseer of the Heliodyne Sand System Survey Program. Positive Probe Telemetry has greenlit an on-site sand survey of PX-47 to assess gold yield potential. Our objective is to extract sand and build an initial gold production factory. The intelligence report says that archive data suggests an extinct high-tech civilization, but records are incomplete and unreliable. It is only confirmed Remnant is a class-designated group of colossal entities roaming the dunes, unresponsive to all contact attempts. Let's confirm our mission. Incoming uplink from Zoe. This is Flight Officer Zoe, your orbital operations support. I will guide you through the missions, but first things first, drop pod is locked on trajectory and cleared for dispatch. Ready when you are, and we're ready. Now would you look at that. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the tutorial because I know what I'm doing. I'll just tell you what it is, what I'm doing instead. How does that sound? You know the drill. Dig and refine sand into gold so we can judge if this rock is worth a full build out. Meet factory processing targets to raise the viability and unlock more technology to push the operation further. Objective, reach factory tier 2. Sensors show high psionic activity in the dune wakes of class Colossus entities. Designation COL-0. But the level remains within acceptable parameters. Right, so first things first. This entire game is about digging sand and processing sand into gold. Then it creates some waste, which will also process further into more gold. And in order to start out, all we have to do is make some wet sand. We're gonna have a little collector box that we're gonna be putting our gold in. We're gonna get our sand, shake it back and forth, gold comes out, and residue is left behind. Now we're gonna do this a couple of times, just so that we have enough gold to buy our first couple of technologies. Let's just dump some more of the sand in here to make it all wet. We press T to open up our little technology research tree. And the first thing we want here are logistics, because with that unlocked, we are able to start making our first little factory. Now, we have the shaker, conveyor belt, and launcher, and when we press Q, we can have more buildings, and I'll want a little foundation block. We'll grab the collector over here, and we'll refine it later. I know that this little lake is gonna be my starting lake, essentially. I'm gonna be wanting to make all of my first starting infrastructure surrounding it. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. First, sand has to be dumped into the pond, and then when it is wet, we can lift it up out of it. First, I'm gonna go even higher. I want a bit of space underneath, because it makes it easier for later. And a big long tower is going to make sure that we have some place to stand. So we have the base of a tower. Now we want the sand, the wet sand, to fall onto these shakers. That's going to fall down like that, all into the abyss, or in this case later, our little gold repository. And the excess is just going to flow away somewhere else. And I'm just going to frankly put you in a box. That will do for now. So wet sand, just chuck it on the belt. Grab the residue and put it on the rest of the pile. Now hovertech. Hovertech is essential because now we can actually move through the things. Ain't that amazing? Let's give a little blocker so everything actually falls on it, because now I need to put this back on the belt, which is annoying. But all of that will be fixed in due time. We just need a bit more money for that. And in order to make more money, we're gonna need more sand. So let's start digging. A little bucket of water to help us, wet our sand. Would you look at that? Now holding Alt, we can change the direction which way the belt is going. I'm going to place some launchers, and now by simply digging down, we'll be putting some wet sand on the belt. And that will be enough for now, because now we can buy the filter. Now the filter basically does what it says on the tin. It filters out whatever is allowed through. So now by placing these here, only residue is allowed to go through. I'm gonna do just a little bit of planning. Essentially, this path is the lowest I want to go. So here I build, and this I keep clear. I see there's some wet sand stuck in there. As you can see, things have weight and density. And in this case, the residue that is left after shaking out the gold from the wet sand is lighter than the wet sand itself, which means it gets pushed up top. And here we're now just making a nice big pile of residue. Let's place this a bit further down, shall we? And let's also place it a bit further away. Holding control lets me replace the block that I currently am trying to build with whatever is already built there. And that's how I'm able to just make this entire bottom into a conveyor belt. I want this to be my collection box. Actually, I want that to be my collection box. Tier 2 is unlocked. This gets us the flamethrower. I'll be using that shortly. Not yet though. Link ready. Wow, nice pace. Additional tech routes approved. It's also time to start thinking about your water supply. I've tagged the location of some Asian boiler ruins on your map. Exploring them after you've unlocked the flamethrower might give you ideas on how to get cave water flowing to your factory. Which reminds me, let me update the mini-map. Here it is, and this bright yellow dot over here is of course our current objective, but we'll get to that in a bit. Because while we're going to be out and exploring, I don't want my factory sitting still. There we go. Now, let's have a quick look at the objective. These ruins show a natural system for collecting water from caves. Boil water into steam and let it rise. Once it is high enough, it will condense into rain. Use blocks to direct the steam and create a natural rain catcher. Sounds like a plan, kitty cat. Now, this basin is essentially where I want the stuff to be, and I know what this pipe is about. I'll get to it later. For now, I'm just gonna block it off. So what that means, steam is going to climb up through here, form up as a cloud, drop a little below, and then gets pushed down here. Then what I want is simply for the rain to follow this path. And there we go. Now it will fill the basin. Let's give it a try. Just boiling lots of water. As you can see, the steam is struggling a bit to quickly go through the exhaust pipe, but that's fine. Let's go watch the fruit of our labor. Steam is coming out. Then it's gonna go all the way over here, which is very, very far. Even further still. And there we go, a cloud! Over here, the steam condenses back into water, and that makes it fall down. So let's follow where the water is going. It's gonna fall on this little sledge over here, and then right where we want it, back into our basin. Some water is already stuck in here, can you believe that? Now, as you can see, this looks pretty clogged. Fret not, however, this is going to be a simple fix. We're actually going to be using the filters for this, because if we use them in their normal conveyor mode, the residue is going to be able to fall down perfectly fine. And this way, once this is completely filled up, it will continue moving to the left and fill up this entire space perfectly. Now, this gold over here, I do want that in there. And that is going to unlock the next bit of technology, the kinetic press. Before we build something with it, however, I want more sand. Or really what I want is more gold. And would you look at that, a little cave has opened up. Oh, and this actually is different from last time. And last time is, for me, the playtest. Let's get this purple stuff. Fluxite. You found Fluxite. Spend it here to permanently upgrade your tools and equipment. And the first thing we want is the material scanner and the expanded capacity. What this is going to do is now when I have my grabber, whenever I mouse over something, it will tell me what it interacts with, if it's flammable, freezable, and all that kind of neat stuff. Really, really handy to have. And the expanded capacity, as you might have seen, my grabber is now a 9x9 instead of the 4x4 it was before. And this little bubble over here of water is going to be great to give us some extra water to start out with, without having to rely on the little aquifer, or natural boiler. Begone plans. This is ice. This is meltable. Now, we may not be able to pick up water, but we are able to pick up steam. So let's just grab the steam that's stuck over here and toss it outside. There, it will condense and fill this basin with more water. Oh, and while we're here, more Fluxite, please. And do I want the Hydro Sponge or Extended Range and Vapor Blast? I want these. More sand. Let's burn the bushes and do some more digging. What's that over here? A nice little arrow. Oh, look at that. Now normally we fly around. Here though, we can't. Wherever this blue background light, cyan background is, we can't. We just get trapped. Now what we have over here is frost bed. Frostbed can only be destroyed, it cannot be melted. But when we dig into it, snow forms. And when snow comes into contact with water, it freezes its surface. Would you look at that? So now, even though we can't fly, we can walk on ice. An augment forge. Create a socketable augment. I don't know what it is, but movement speed, always welcome. Steam again, put it outside. Now as you can see, this little buffer is completely filled to the absolute brim with residue, and as you can see, it is actually flammable. Let's unlock the thermal buffer and the burner belt, because what I want to make here, I'm a pretty big fan of. I'm gonna make a second belt, and this second belt is gonna go in the opposite direction, and it's only gonna allow burned residue through. Now ring, you might ask. That is a whole lot of normal residue. How are you gonna fix that? Simple. I light it on fire. And while it is burning, I'm gonna be placing a lot of thermal buffers down here, and I'm gonna use it in combination with one little burner belt. Let's light it on fire now. And we'll see this will increase the temperature of the burner belt. When you light something on fire, it generates heat. So in this case, we're just lighting the residue on fire, which gives us the heat we want. Now, once it is burned, we actually need to process it. And I'm gonna leave this here for the time being, because, well, I need some time to get our next step going, which are these, the kinetic presses. First, we're gonna create a little column and a little space for things to drop down. And this I want to be completely separated. Then what I also want to do is I want the burned residue, and I am actually going to create a couple of these over here. And the reason for that, you might ask, why would you possibly want that? That's already what you're going to be putting into this area in the first place. That is correct. However, these dropping things can be a bit finicky, so I want stuff to drop through and immediately always get, well, kinetically pressed. So in order to do that, I basically want these to act as a mediator. These will drop it in a little bit at a time to make sure that every time I drop stuff in there, it is not going to overwhelm the system. Still, however, it could clog. So what I'm going to do is get more up there, install a filter that only allows burnt residue to go through, and put it on top of the other ones. This will make sure that if there's some burnt residue left behind, that's fine. I'll just, drop it back in and let it go for another pass. Then I'm going to be using this as a very large basin, just like I did with the residue, to go for our seed storage. These filters have clogged up, and essentially what I'm going to do is do the reverse. Instead of saying, oh, I only want you to let through a certain item, I'm going to say you're going to let everything through except for gold. Finish you up, open you up, and get the rest of our burnt residue in there as well. Oh, and as you can see, I made a little boo-boo. This is not supposed to block it, this is supposed to allow it. It's gonna mediate. Oh no, I forgot to add the gold. Uh-oh. There, that'll do. Look at all that money being created. Excellent. Let's just give it a little help. Some launchers to help with the launching of the stuff, and this can now go. Now, remember, we didn't charge these thermal buffers once, and the average temperature in here is 13, 12, 10. In other words, enough to run this burner mining drill. Or sorry, that's Factorio. This burning belt. And all these seeds, well, they're just gonna go in there. And that allows us to unlock Tier 3 already. And there it is, more gold coming into our little collecting area. Oh, and this little bit of residue over here, let's put that with the rest of it, shall we? Now, what this is going to do, it's going to compress it into this nice little tube, and as soon as something starts spilling over and falls onto this burner belt, it will start igniting the residue. Then, since the residue is flammable, it will slowly kind of burn itself up like a matchstick and recharge our thermal buffers. Let's go mine some sand to showcase what it can do, shall we? This snow over here, I'm just gonna put it over here for a second. Don't mind that. We'll get to it. Some launchers to help throughput. And over here, a filter that will only allow snow. And as you can see, the buffer is now slowly building up. Now this is all 12, and you see the burner belt does have enough energy to be able to punch through and, you know, start a fire. And as soon as it touches, it's gonna start a chain reaction. Look at that. That is heating it up nicely. And this whole area is basically going to burn all the way through here. Yep, I see we have some wet sand and gold. Oh boy. Maybe I should allow these to just be residue. And would you look at that? It basically made it hotter than it started out with. And the fire is still going. And as long as the fire goes, the longer these thermal buffers keep charging up. Now, that leaves us with a literal mountain of gold and more on the way, so let's see what we can spend it on, shall we? First, we have some conveyor portals, which allows elements to cross production lines without mixing. Then we have the planter box, the gun, and an activity heat map, as well as the cryo blaster, which can produce infinite snow that we can turn into more free water. For the time being, however, I'm gonna unlock the planter box, fluids, and a clearing frame. Because first we have to design something that can actually wet these seeds. Now, you might be asking, what can we use wet seeds for? Wet seeds can be used to grow plants that make pretty little flowers with a golden knob in the center. Now we can harvest the gold for, you know, it is gold, and we can do something else with the flowers later. First, I'm gonna create just a bit of room to put all these seeds. I don't need them and they're in the way. Then, from experience, I know that the wet seeds and the dry seeds can be very annoying to deal with, so we're gonna try a new build and see how it goes. So here's the idea. Seed is gonna fall in, drop down in this little area with the clearing frames, and water is on the left side only able to go through these two vertical filters that have been allowed to set through, well, basically just gold or something like that. Something that really should not be in this machine. And now with this, I have a nice little stackable arrangement. Break down the old, put the seed over here that we don't need at the moment. And what do you know, there we go. Actually, I see I made a little oopsie whoopsie, because this does actually need an enclosure to keep the water inside. Now this column is gonna fill up with the dry seed, it's gonna fall into the pond, then when it's wet, it's gonna get pushed out and will continue on its journey. Which, for now, and again, this is only temporary, we're gonna dump it into a nice big basket. Till then though, only dry seed is gonna be allowed through this opening. We make a conveyor belt out of this, and we just put a launcher here. There we go, and that should take care of filling this up. Now, in the meantime, we do need something else, namely fluids. These pumps require water, and they're not gonna get it from nothing. So we're gonna go down into here and get a couple of pumps. And there we go. Now we see wet seed is being created. Oh, I see I made a fucky wucky. This will be fixed later, eventually, in the future. Just trust the process. it seems like some of the wet stuff is being pushed in here, which is a bit odd because it's only allowed to put the other stuff through. Okay, so this design, I thought it was gonna work, but very clearly it doesn't. It clogs up a bit. Let's also make a partition for the time being, just so we don't make it too hard on ourselves. Let's disable the pumps real quick as well. All right, so that's something we'll have to figure out soon, or rather next time, because I think that's gonna be it for now. We have come pretty far, we have unlocked a lot of technology, and right now we're in a perfect position to, next time, figure out how the hell our watering system is gonna work. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.